Hi, I'm Yolanda and welcome to Speak On. The world of pop culture sometimes feels like a non-stop shit show of actors, musicians and celebrities exposing their stupidity and disgusting behaviour very publicly. News is disseminated through more channels than ever, and we have unfettered access to our favourite celebs and creators. Once protected by disaster-bearing publicists and media manipulators, artists are now more accessible to the public than ever before, and it almost feels inevitable that someone you really love that's famous is going to do something really fucking stupid. Sometimes when it comes to musicians and actors, particularly, public behaviour has to get really bad for it to have an impact at all, because you have that kind of conundrum of how do you separate the art from the artist? It seems the more popular the artist, the more willing we are to totally accept their behaviour. They're a genius. How can you dislike them? The music is great. It doesn't matter that he's just punched a woman in the face. We just let it go. So today I want to talk about the parade of exposed faves, artists, boycotts, and whether cancel culture really has an impact on bringing these public figures into line. So joining me today, we have actress and singer Rachel. We have actress and singer Chrissy. So many actresses. We have actress, model, mental health advocate Lucy, and we have representing Rosa, Seyi Newell. She's not an actress, she's a real person. No acting. Okay, so yeah, let's delve into this. First of all, I just want to know if anybody has any problematic faves. And don't feel ashamed to say,
Problematic.
I do.
Yeah. Okay, who?
So I love Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
And I have done since the Hannah Montana days.
Mm-hmm.
But her whole kind of rise to she was obviously famous anyway, but her real success was very much just appropriating black culture from in 2013 with, she didn't actually ever say I invented twerking, but that is what everyone would say about her. And she just sort of rode that roller coaster straight to the bank, basically.
And then had a revamp and went back to who she was.
Exactly. And then now it's I was just smoking weed, so now I'm back to being a good old country girl. Yeah. And that is definitely problematic, but I do still have a soft spot for her. And I do think she's a good person. I think she does a lot for trans culture, and she's also a vegan, and she speaks up for animals, and I do think she does some great things, but that whole sort of 2013 era was a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Miley, what's good?
Yeah,
exactly. My favourite moment of the music show ever.
Yeah, that was iconic.
Oh my God, I watched that moment over and over again. Yeah.
Replay.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any?
I don't think I have any problematic faves. Yeah. My favourite is Beyonce, and she's great, so there's nothing to say. I have really good taste.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God, problematic faves, Chris Brown.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't mean to say.
A nurse one. I mean,
take a breath.
I was never. Sorry, I always rated Casey Affleck on his work, but he's a potential problematic. No, he was never a fave.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a question mark.
He respected his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey, with everything that broke about that, I guess that's a problematic thing.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is that? Do you know what? I'm very weird when it comes to slow jams and stuff and who I like and who I don't like. I mean, R. Kelly, it's so, wow.
I just feel like the 80s and 90s have been ruined for me.
Well,
basically.
there we go. I mean,
You done fucked up AA
yeah, quite a few. So, I'll stop there.
What about you?
Probably just Kanye's a bit tapped.
Kanye.
Yeah.
But
His last couple months have been rough.
Yeah.
He's really taken it.
Yeah.
But that's it, really.
Yeah.
No one else.
So out of all the, I don't know, I mean, people that have been cancelled this year, whether you are aware they're cancelled or not, who have you cancelled for yourselves in the past year?
Kanye West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm done. Kanye, I'm
Yeah,
done.
not doing it.
You're not well, mate.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
He's not on the ticket.
No.
He's lost the plot as far as I'm concerned. He has lost the plot.
Anybody else?
I cancelled Chris Brown a long time ago.
Same.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Yeah.
And I and I know he has this documentary now, and I've had so many friends like, oh, you should watch this documentary. It's really not that bad. I'm like,
What, does he explain why he punches women in the face?
Wait,
He kind of, I've watched it. He goes into, I think he gives you his perspective.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's no, you did what you did. That was, it happened. So I don't think there's any which way. I don't think he doesn't try to justify it or kind of, I put himself as some sort of victim of something, obviously, because we know his background, etc.
Yeah.
So it was good to hear his side of it, but it doesn't change anything.
But the thing is that with Chris Brown so this thing happened when he was 17, something like that. It's a really long time ago. I think he's had the opportunity to kind of grow and be better. And he hasn't really taken the opportunity.
He hasn't.
So it's kind of been it's the ongoing abuse of women and just people in general. So that's
And I think if it was, you can't excuse it anyway. What he did to Rihanna was awful. Like, we've all seen the pictures. It was horrific, and I've read the the police report. It was horrific what he did. But if it was that one occasion, and he, like you said, if he had really grown as a person and actually sort of showed any remorse, I've never really seen any remorse. But then he stalking Karrueche as well. It's just like
I know he's like there have been like female comedians that he's just like lost his shit on or like abused, whatever.
Did he punch another lady?
Total lack of respect.
The thing is I'm a firm believer of second chances. I think everyone should have second chances. And particularly if you're in the public eye, and particularly if you grew up in the public eye. I don't know what that does to people.
But it fucks with your head for sure.
Of course. Sure. So I think there is a bit of leeway that you give people. However, like I said, if you're consistently doing the same thing...
How many chances you're going to give?
Exactly. For me, it's the same with Kanye West. So the things that he did gradually, you're just like, oh, that's Kanye, and you kind of excuse it. But then wearing the MAGA hat and that slavery is a choice thing. Bye.
Black, cancel.
Not doing it,
Yeah.
And do you think, obviously, you're talking about giving people a second chance. Do you think that now that we're in cancel culture, with the exception of people like Kanye, because people have, that happened, and then loads of people bought his album.
He's number one.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then everybody's going to buy the new Yeezy. So, I mean, there was no real cancelling happening there. Do you think that people will be given a second chance now in this cancel culture? I mean, I'm talking about people who have been fully cancelled. Do you think we're going to see a comeback for like Kevin Spacey? Or something like that, or do you think we are done on things now?
I think it depends on the crime. If you look at someone like Gary Glitter, he was never going to get a second chance, was he? Because his crimes were horrific and horrible, horrible crimes that spanned years of abuse. You don't deserve a second chance. You're a bad person and you didn't learn from any of your bad behaviour. But someone that, does make a mistake, like you say, if you grow up in the public eye, it does affect you in weird ways, definitely. And I think it totally depends on the offence, so to speak.
Yeah. So I suppose, it's a combination of the offence. Is there any remorse?
Who is it?
Exactly,
Because you might just despise them as a person, and then when they do something else, it's just like, I hate them.
It's so true. And I guess it's kind of, there's the art or the artist, and like the person is like, having that split between the two. Do you care about the person, or are you just like, do you just appreciate their art or not? All that kind of stuff. It's just
the same thing as like Michael Jackson.
Whatever
he may or may not have done, you can't take away the talent that he had and how incredible he is. And I just sometimes I feel so sorry for him almost, but he maybe have done the same thing that Gary Glitter, Kevin Spacey. You know what I mean? So I think it just depends on the person.
It does.
Okay, so then we talked about Kanye West. Yes, obviously, was cancelled online for like a millisecond. And then obviously his album still went to number one. Then, J.K. Rowling felt the wrath of Twitter when she kind of stood by the casting of Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts 2, which, I mean, he's despite previous allegations of domestic abuse and problematic, behaviour on set. Well, I suppose what I want to ask is, where is the line with what someone's done at home? Because obviously his problematic relationship at home where she's recording him kind of stomping around at home and being crazy, should that have an effect on someone's job? Because in the real world, it wouldn't. It would be like, yeah, you did that at home, but you still work here at the bank, Mr. What's his face?
Yeah.
You know, so...
I suppose they're in the limelight, so it comes part and parcel with that job and what they do.
Do you think there's a morality clause to being famous?
Yeah, I do. I just think they have the amazing parts of that job. They earn loads of money, they travel the world, also that, so they do need to be a little bit more mindful in their home life, personal life, with their boyfriend girlfriends. They need to set an example, I think.
And they kind of need to be held accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's almost like holding people up to higher standards than we hold ourselves.
Do you know what it is? I think that's what it is as well. Because I'm thinking of like other people, i.e., who is it that I absolutely adored? Mr. Mel Gibson. Sorry, I'm that person. I'm like Van Damme, yes. Arnie, yes. Mel Gibson, yes. My taste ranges to all these crazy places, and then Mel does
I'm
whatever
Jewish,
he
so
does.
I've always hated
No,
him.
So then, like, things come to light, and you're just like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is like really what you're about."
It's
and then
awful.
I feel like
it's
Hollywood
really
like
disappointing.
shuns you for like 6 months or to a year, whatever else, and next thing I know, you're here at the Oscars winning whatever else, or you're back to normal. So it's like you kind of, it's weird that because you're a celebrity, you have this status, you are given a free pass to stuff, or like exactly. But if Joe Smith does this, the repercussions would be absolutely ridiculous, or the judgment or the alienation you might get from your community and stuff would be would be horrific or horrendous or what have you. So it's like, at the end of the day, I know that they have this status, but they are still people. Do you know what I mean? And you lead by example, and you have these fan base, and your reach is like ridiculous. But this is where I start to feel a bit, why is that okay? I get it, I understand where you're placed, but why is that still okay? Yeah. And it's that's the bit that I feel like I struggle with. And as much as we're like, oh, it depends on the person, depends on the crime, but you still get a pass.
Yeah.
Why is that okay?
I think what's so frustrating about it as well is these people do get their get out of jail free card, and ultimately what that really means for women in society is that we subconsciously are then taught that it's okay to do these things to women.
Yeah.
And these guys will still be successful.
Of course.
I mean, nothing with Johnny Depp was ever really proven, I don't believe, as far as, I mean,
there was that video that
I've always been an enormous fan of Johnny Depp. He's an incredibly talented actor. So for me, I was really disappointed when I heard about everything with his wife. But he is still got ad campaigns for aftershaves and watches, I think, at the moment as well. He's still getting cast in films all the time. She isn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the thing is that
really
whenever things are done against women in the public, there's always kind of like a bit of men are always kind of giving the benefit of the doubt. Well, maybe that didn't happen, or maybe there was a reason. Maybe she did something that provoked him, or maybe she. And whatever the reason is, there's always, and it always has a negative impact on the women's career.
Always.
I'm not the biggest fan, but look at Rose McGowan and how that whole situation with Harvey Weinstein.
And that has deeply affected her. I mean, like her mental health, everything.
Absolutely.
And so it's always the case where the woman's career is kind of always disposable. It's always up for debate. It's always up for grabs. Whereas the man is they're able to say, "Oh God, what's he going to do about his career?" And then 6 months later, you have the obligatory apology tour, and then 6 months later they're back to doing what they were doing.
And a really extreme example, there's an adult performer called Christy Mack. I don't know if you guys know who that is. She used to make adult films, and she went out with this guy who legally changed his name to War Machine. And he
felt like an odd choice to go out of him.
He was an MMA fighter. He almost killed her. He chased her around her house with a knife for hours. He cut all her hair off with a knife. He beat her. He broke her ribs. She had internal bleeding. He knocked out her teeth. Really awful attack. And this is someone that she loved. And when it all came out in the news, everyone said, she's a whore anyway, so why does it matter? And it's just like, okay, so how how does your job have anything to do with how you deserve to be treated?
Yeah.
I just can't comprehend it. And they say, oh, well, she does porn, so...
Yeah, just because I do porn doesn't mean I deserve to get punched in the
Yeah,
face.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Why
my
doesn't
job.
she deserve to
Whatever
be
else.
loved and looked after safely like everyone else does? It doesn't make any sense.
Or if you can't do that, leave her alone.
Yeah.
Like, there's always the option to just
Yeah,
not
just-
be with someone if that's how you're going to treat them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an odd one. Okay, yeah, so there is that culture of women not being believed in the first instance when these things happen, and we question what women say more than what men say. And, you know, even like Sean Penn, great example of that, emerged from the rubbish, like, dump, just to say that he doesn't believe women who share their Me Too moments. And I'm like, all right, Sean, it's up to
I
you,
didn't
mate.
know that.
I don't know that, actually.
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Which is weird. I don't know how that got glossed over in the press, but yeah.
I mean, he definitely beat Madonna up for like, years ago when they were together, so that's not super surprising.
Yeah, true still. Yeah, he's an interesting man. And then, I mean, the kind of flip side of that, what I love is that when people aren't forgetting, and now we're in, you know, people that are in the public eye calling people out. So Jamila Jamil saying about, like, literally dragging Emile Hirsch and saying you could have hired someone that doesn't try to choke women just for no fucking reason. Which, I mean, I liked that. I would have liked that several times if I could. But yeah, so, you know, it's kind of continuing that, bringing these things out into the fore. And, you know, she expressed her, let's say, disappointment at the fact that he's still cast. And I suppose it brings this conversation up again. And he never apologised as well, which goes back to, if people aren't showing remorse, can we really forgive them? So what do you think of when people do apologise online? Do you feel like it's sincere?
No, their publicist has written that. Like, it's always way over dramatic, and they always say, you know, oh, I've been going through a really rough time. I've been really stressed.
Yeah. Or like Roseanne, Ambien.
Yeah.
Even though the makers of Ambien would like to stress, racism is not a side effect.
Yeah, like, oh, I was taking a lot of Adderall at the time. So that's why I raped those 3 women. Oh, no, that's not how it works. Be a good person and you don't have to do that shit.
But I think, so you only know whether apology is sincere after, for a time afterwards. So after that apology, what does the person do next?
The behaviour afterwards, of course.
What do they do next? So I remember a while ago, Emma Watson said something about Beyonce, maybe? About Beyonce not being a feminist because she shows parts of her body and things like that. And everyone was like, well, I'm not really sure what that's got to do with you.
I remember this.
There was a huge backlash. But she apologised, but then afterwards she went away and she did the work. She went away and she read about what it means to be a black woman in America, in the industry that she's in, what it means to be able to own your own sexuality and own your body and all of those kind of things. She went away and she did the work, but then she came back and told us that she did the work.
Yeah.
Right? So then you can say, oh, well, that's growth.
Yeah,
And then
And
the apology was sincere.
absolutely. And then she also experienced it herself. Obviously, she's not a black woman, but then I remember she had that cover where you can see some cleavage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people were making memes out of it, saying like, "Oh, I'm a feminist. Take me seriously." And she was like, "Yes, you can still take a woman seriously just because her cleavage is showing.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't change anything."
Absolutely.
So I think that helped her as well with in terms of personal growth.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't, like, I'm sure all of us have made massive fuck ups in our life. We've offended people. We've said things that probably weren't politically correct. They weren't okay.
I definitely haven't written them online, though, because even I knew that was public.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it just in terms of like people having differing opinions, you're always going to offend someone. But if you are open to learning about things and
That's the thing.
being honest about it, then it's different. But I think a lot of these people, there's no excuse. It beggars belief, some of the stuff that these people say, to be honest. So
I think
don't know.
so. Really, what we're going into it, does cancelling celebrities really have an impact? I mean, this could be a yes or no.
In large numbers, probably. But
depends on their on the celebrity, doesn't it? Really, you can't cancel Kanye.
the celebrity, the status, how much reach they have. And I feel like these are all like ridiculous reasons to even list, because right is right and wrong is wrong. But it's stuff like that, and how much does the public even care about that particular topic at that time?
And about the person.
How much coverage has been on it.
Nostalgia is a really big thing, which is why you have so many people defending Bill Cosby, because they grew up with him. They grew up with him on TV.
Exactly.
This is why Kanye will always still have fans. We grew up with so many of us grew up with him. So nostalgia, I think, plays a big role in whether or not people can be cancelled. And whether they can be held accountable for that.
But none of us want these awful things to be true. None of us want these things to happen. But they have happened. So you then have to hold that person accountable. You can't say, oh, but I watched this TV show when I was a kid and I liked him. That doesn't change the fact that he did some really awful things. So you have to change your opinion.
And he's also a character.
Exactly. Exactly. He wasn't being himself.
And I suppose we're back again then. Do you separate the art from the artist? And I suppose that's a individual choice, because really the only way you can really ever cancel someone that's making money out of these things is by stop buying their things, by stealing it or bootlegging it or whatever. Because does the money know whether it's for the art or the artist? The money doesn't know, and their bank account is like, well, after artist, I'm still really rich. So, they're just still getting rewarded for their terrible behaviour. And I suppose as well, influencers have felt the brunt of this recently as well. We've got what's happened to Logan Paul, PewDiePie, and other people that have been hauled over the coals for their behaviour. Holly Boone, for example, with her video, I'm So Sorry.
Guys, so I wanted to come on here and I wanted to say my apologies and give you an explanation.
I feel like I'd believe it if so many of your tweets weren't like this and your friends weren't joining in. I feel like sometimes it just really shows who people really are.
Horrific, horrendous, awful.
I mean, I don't know how far cancelling her has gone for people. I don't know. I haven't looked at her follower numbers. I haven't looked at her videos or anything like that. But I know that certain brands stopped working with her, which was great, because you do need to, they need to show what they do and don't believe in. But I don't know. I suppose, is it easier to cancel influencers than it is to cancel celebrities? Or is there no line
because
anymore?
Jeffree Star seems to still be rocking around. I'm not sure.
But again, I think it does come down to actual growth of the person. Like, I mean, one of my favourite influencers, her name is Mika Francis, and she's awesome. She had really, really damaged hair from eating disorder recovery and also anxiety, and just from straight up bleaching it. And because her hair was so damaged, she wanted to have dreadlocks for like a whole year and use it for her hair to grow, and that's what she did. She's an influencer that speaks a lot about spirituality, a lot about politics and self-love, and really important messages, I think. But she did get dragged continuously for like the entire year because she had dreadlocks. So she put out this video and she's like hysterically crying, and it's obviously genuine. She's obviously very upset. But it is also like, you are offending people by wearing your hair like that. Whether that's right or wrong, who knows? Like, I can't comment because I'm a white woman. It's not going to offend me. But if it does offend people, just take them out.
And it was, sorry, I was about to say as well, I'm not going to lie about how over I am at white people crying or getting offended that they've offended someone else. Mate, it's well documented that what you're doing is fucking stupid. And it's offending people. Don't then cry because people tell you that and point out to you, what are you crying for? You're not oppressed, stop this.
But it's kind of
just my personal view.
The weaponising of tears is what irritates me to no end. Because
that's why I have
decided that you're going to but she decided that she's going to grow dreadlocks. A gang of people have come to her and said, that's not okay. And instead of checking internally with herself and saying, okay, I don't really get it, but fine, you get on Instagram and you cry about it, which then turns their focus back on you and you become the victim. And you're not. You're not.
And ultimately that was what kind of happened in the comments. There were a lot of women from all different races saying, oh, but you're a lovely girl, like, we can tell that you're speaking up for the community and you are an ally. But it's just like, you can change your hair, and that's all it is. And it's literally just change your hair, and no one's going to be upset. And that's all it comes down to. Like, I think dreadlocks look awesome. I think I could probably rock them. But it would offend a lot of people, and I don't want to be a part of that. And I don't ever want to make someone feel like I'm taking their culture, and I just don't think that it's an okay thing to do.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So obviously we've seen as well with what mentioned about Holly Boone, people going back in time, and digging up their tweets. Happened with Stormzy, Maya Jama, Stefflon Don. How far is too far back as well with these things? Like even with Zoella, like it was a couple of years ago, but people like dug up tweets from 7 years before. You know, how far back is too far back?
I think it depends how old you were when 7 years was up. If you were like 13, 14, leave the bloody hell alone.
Yeah, they're young.
You know,
they
you're
don't
a
know.
teenager, everyone says stupid, ignorant stuff when they're a teenager.
Yeah.
You just all do. We've all done that.
Yeah.
But I think it's less about what they actually said 7 years ago or whatever, and how they react to it being
Brought up
visible
again.
and public. So if someone shows you something that you said, to me, the correct response is to say, I don't believe that anymore. I did that when I was young and stupid, and that's it.
Yeah.
Rather than get out of my mentions. I don't want to hear what you have to say, you know? I think there's a way that a lot of people snowball it into... So Stormzy said, listen, I was stupid and I was young and that was it. Stefflon didn't.
She denied it initially, didn't
exactly,
she?
which is why then people go after you more, because you're not being honest, you're not being genuine.
But you know what, I feel like even if you are being genuine and you're sincere in your apology and stuff, sometimes people will still come for you, regardless of
Yeah,
what
you're in
you've
the
done.
public now.
So it's kind of like, it's almost like, this is where I guess it's almost like, does accountability even matter? Which is a ridiculous question, because of course it does. But sometimes you can do all the right things, show your growth, do all this work, and people will still there'll be that element of hate or just disregard of what it is that you've done. So it's kind of like, it's almost, I guess if you're a fan of that person, if you genuinely believe that, then obviously you're going to stay loyal and support that and support them. But I don't know if it's the case that we've reached a day and age where everything is so disposable. Do we even really care? We ride that wave up to a point, and then it's on to the next thing and stuff. So this is where for me it starts to get a bit hazy or a bit blurry, and it's like, this is dramatic for today, but tomorrow that's going to be dramatic, etc., etc. So I guess ultimately for the person in question, if it's genuine, all the rest of it, and it's authentic, and you can buy into it, that's great. But again, as you said, if you're a kid and you wrote some shit, then it's like, is it even worth bringing it up to kind of be, oh my gosh, you said X, Y, and Z? Because obviously they can be like, I was ignorant, or I didn't know what I was saying, whatever else. I have friends who are actors now, and they're like, do you know what? I was a little shit when I was younger. I would write so much crap just because I could access that person. But if you were to look at me now, I'm older, and bring this shit up, I would be so like ridiculously
Mortified.
exactly. And now I have to express myself or explain why I said those things. It's such a weird one. Like, I think it's amazing that they do, for those who are sincere, that they do own up to it, and they handle that business and they move on. But people are just still gonna have ish to say.
People always have something to say, but I think it's about the individual figuring out who they are accountable to. So if I say something about the LGBT community, I'm accountable to them, and it's for me to say, I apologise directly to this community, not everyone. And if you've offended, in particularly black women, it's not for you to say, oh, I apologise to all women.
No.
Well, these are the group of people that you're accountable to, and then you kind of gauge that. But again, you're not going to please everyone. You're in the public eye. People sit on Twitter for 24 hours a day trolling. You know, so I guess it's for the person to figure out when is enough.
That's fair enough. Well, thank you so much. I mean, at this point, we're saying that we don't really know where cancel culture is going, because it's still fairly new. This is still really, I suppose, 2017 to 2018 is the year of just cancelling people. And I think as well, I suppose, as we see more extreme types of behaviour, then we'll see how far people really are willing to go if they are truly going to cancel people. And when I say cancelling people, I mean not spending money on anything they do and making them feel it. Yeah, that's it. There's no real conclusion to this. What the hell's happened? I think the main moral of the story is, if you are in the public eye,
be good.
Yeah, just be nice to people. Yeah, don't be a dick.
Even if you're not in the public eye.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Just be nice.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you are in the public eye, you're about to go in the public eye or anything, go back online and delete your Twitter account and start a new one. That's all you need to do, and then you will save yourself a hell of a lot of time and jobs and money and death threats. I'm guessing, because people go in these days.
People be cray.
Exactly. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
Peace.